name is Callahan. I'm from Whidbey Island. I grew up here on the south end of Whidbey Island, and I'm a glass artist. I produce blown glass. I have a studio in the back behind the house. I spend most every day here producing and making glass objects and vessels and different products to ship out all over the world. One of the things that is complicated for people to understand with manufacturing glass is that it requires years of discipline in the media to allow you to apply creativity to skill. So it takes years of making something simple like Christmas ornaments or cups and making thousands of them over the years in order to build the discipline and the mechanical memory in your limbs and arms to take a creative thought and execute it really well into a piece of artwork. It's enormously difficult for people to start out in glass, and one of the first things that a lot of American glass artists try and do is jump right on the creative side of it, but they haven't developed the skills. Like, I've personally been working in glass almost 18 years, and I've heard it said in the past that glass is a cruel mistress. It can be really brutal at times. It can punish you on a regular basis and give you enormous gratification. It has its own memory. When you touch it somewhere, it blows out. If you touch it with cold tools in a certain spot and you blow out the bubble, that bubble from a little ball all the way up to the expanded giant sea float you just made will always remember where you manipulated it. It's almost like it has a life of its own. I'm from Whidbey Island. I grew up here on the south end of Whidbey Island. In my freshman year in high school, I ended up transferring to an alternative school in Everett. And they had a glass lab there, and that's where I started doing stained glass, was in a high school program. I wanted something with a new challenge that had different qualities, and glass is such a fantastic media to work in it. And so I got a bunch of different jobs and working in the local glass studios, and I started out doing stained glass and fused glass, and then got into blown glass, and the instant gratification you get from blown glass is just so much more appealing. You gotta take this scoop of glass and get it right down in the middle of the hellhole there. I knew I never wanted to have a commute on the freeway. That was a really big motivation. Actually, sometimes in the morning I'll listen to traffic radio just to cheer myself up in the middle of winter, remind me that it's not so bad. It almost seems unfair that I do it for a living, because I really, really love it a lot. I used to be on the water a lot. I like to smell and taste the salt water. It's kind of an extension on my past, I think. You know, I spent so much time on the water. I just kind of grew up on the water. Like, I like just the solitude. I try not to bring my cell phone if I can help it. Sailing it's kind of a new thing for me. I've spent a lot of time in the water. I know a lot about wind and tide, but I like a challenge that isn't related to work. It's hard to be at home and work at home because you're always at work, never at home. So it's nice. When you're trying to figure out how a piece of glass is made, or when people are watching how it's made, it's one of the most important tools that we use is gravity. It's really consistent. It's always there. It'll never break, and so we can swing things out. We can hold things up and let them fall back on themselves. And manufacturing glass is a really excellent physics lesson, because all the things you learn about physics are applied to this media. The way it interacts with other materials, the way it expands, contracts. You need a nice formula of gravity, physics, and applied skill to make a piece of glass. The mechanical memory, the training, and the discipline, it takes years to develop it so that you can execute a beautiful piece of artwork after years and years of disciplining yourself to learn how to make glass do what you need to do. Actually, mostly what happens in the middle of the night that I have to wake up for and write it down or draw it out is a technical problem that I've been having, like one little move with a handle that I haven't quite been able to figure out, and I worked on it for a whole day or even 2 days, and then I'll dream about it, and in my sleep I'll make the move the right way, and because my mind's rehearsing it, and I could wake up and draw it out or write it down, or sometimes just wake up, walk out of the studio in the morning, and bang, nail the first one. If you just force yourself to do one product all day long and you're unfamiliar with it, you find new ways to mess it up by the end of the day. Just when you think you got it figured out, you find a new way to mess it up. And so to try it, to eat on it, to sleep on it, to think about it, and to keep trying on a limited basis, eventually the mechanical memory will be programmed and hardwired. And it's kind of nice when you get to that level where you can blow glass and interact with the people that are working around you.
We'll just go with one coat of blue, one coat of green.
Even on my vacation, if I go on vacation to Santa Monica, I find myself walking up and down the gallery district, sussing out other work and new galleries to possibly display it in. When I go to Italy, I find myself buying glass tools in Venice. Can't really stop talking about it or doing it. I love it. And the kids being around is just so wonderful because they, are laughing in the morning and running around. They draw crazy pictures. They draw stuff on the floor that often inspires a lot of my work. They critique my stuff, my use of color, and they have a real innocence about them, and a real honesty that is hard to get from the average adult. Well, my own personal feelings and opinion on art is it should create some sort of emotional response from the individual. I mean, sometimes when people really hate my work, I like it because at least I got them to commit to some emotional response. And then I've always seen artwork as a triangle that's visually stimulating, intellectually challenging, and emotionally engaging. And that's what I try and put into my pieces is all three of those things to create the triangle of what I believe is a piece of artwork. And an artist has a broad definition. I mean, I'm an artist, and I come from a family of artists, and I believe to actually have a career as an artist, you have to be solely financially dependent upon you and your artwork. That to support yourself entirely by your hands and your mind and your vision is what an artist is. I mean, some people do art on the side, but maybe they're a carpenter. An artist can be a culinary chef, a really great cook. I mean, my father's an artist in the kitchen. He can take anything and make it taste good. Most people's perception is it's kind of like artwork. They perceive something, and that comes from their own individual thoughts and how they perceive what an artist should be. Everybody has inside themselves the ability to be an artist, and it's having the drive to make that sort of dream happen, and that comes from inside of each person. Everyone has the ability to be anything they want at any time, and me personally, I've chose a career as an artist, and I want to be a successful one.